Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Andre Juster, your host for Inventory Insights for Gordian Logistic Experts. Today on the show, we've got a discussion about how we implement the Gordian Planning and Support Service Center. This whole mouthful is also known as the GPS Center. Today we've got Lawrence Hellegers today joining us. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Andre. My name is Lawrence Hellegers. I'm one of the consultants working for Gordian. I've been with the company now for more than 6 years. Started off in the Netherlands and now working in South Africa for the last 2 years. And I'm involved in the GPS Center, so I should be able to tell you all about the how of the GPS Center.
To start us off, starting out on how to begin with a new client. What are the signs to maybe tell that they should be maybe leaning toward the GPS service center?
Yeah, so when we start off with a new client, then I think we should be explaining to them the objective of the GPS center. And the objective is to create an environment of continuous improvement. We believe we can achieve that by embedding a PDCA practice, so a plan, a do, a check and an act practice, in which we continuously focus on improving the spare parts management practice. I think one of the first questions that needs to be answered is how much support is needed. Some clients, they only need limited support, maybe a coach that can ask the difficult questions every now and then, or they need someone that maybe takes full responsibility of the full PDCA practice. So the level of support, for me, that's one of the first things to establish before we can start off with planning services.
To maybe discuss on if you can highlight a specific, let's say, success story, an example of where you were implementing and understanding an important aspect to why they went with a GPS service center idea.
Yeah, so over the years I've been involved in multiple projects related to planning services on both sides of the business, so as well in the Netherlands as in South Africa. And what I always like to see is that there is some form of a dynamic support service contract. So we start off with a high intensity and we really, let's say, take firm control over the spare parts management with a performance-based contract if needed in order to get maybe things back on track. But what really energizes me and what for me is a very good success story is that at some point in time the client is able to empower one of their own people to step up and take more responsibilities towards spare parts management. Of course, we help the client empower that specific person, maybe even with additional training. But for me, a success story is typically that we start off at high intensity to really create that new culture, that new environment of continuously improving spare parts management, and then gradually reduce the intensity of support. And that in the end of the day, when we, let's say, maybe walk off after whatever period, that we can be proud and look back that we achieved the set results and that we have someone within the client's organization driving the practice.
Great. To understand a little bit better when you're either implementing or transitioning, handing over to the client, what is your preferred method or a success story for the smooth transition, smoothly connecting to the client's existing systems and processes?
Yeah, so during the implementation of the solution, we take care of the technical stuff, if I can say it like that. So let's say all the stuff, all the systems that needs to connect with each other, so the ERP system of the client with our software, that has been taken care of during implementation. And in that way, the systems talk to one another and we are able to feed our software to to kick off the optimization of the inventory parameters, and we can push back optimal values to the ERP system. I think when the real transition comes in is really about embedding the process around the PDCA practice. And for me that has a lot of change management to it. Because it needs quite some attention from different departments as well. So yes, it is driven by the inventory controller of the clients in the client's organization, but for certain aspects it relates also to procurement and maintenance and obviously warehousing. So the whole process that needs to be implemented, for me that's the real challenge, and the real challenge of getting all people on board of this new way of working. That's the real thing that takes time, and as for all things, trust needs to be earned. So yes, we can promise certain expected performance to be achieved over time, but most clients only believe it when they see it. So it takes time to earn that trust, and that's perfectly fine, and hence continuously spending time on change management is very important towards success.
Great. Now, how do you ensure success for a client to use the GPS Service Center effectively?
Yeah, so maybe I have to relate to a story a client once told me. And he said to me, Laurens, spare parts management is the same as gardening. So if you made a mess of it, you have to cut all the weeds and to have drastic measures in order to upgrade it. But once you have a beautiful garden, then you have to maintain it, because otherwise the beautiful garden will degrade over time, and after 6 months it's gone. All the efforts down the drain. So he said, with spare parts management is exactly the same. So yes, you can implement a solution, and yes, you can take the drastic measures and to cut off all obsolete parts or whatever. But really the power of success is consistency. So doing the consistent practice of PDCA will definitely help you to create that environment of continuous improvement and to maintain that beautiful garden.
Beautiful imagery. Love that. To maybe step further into that, can you maybe discuss common issues, maybe for the imagery, those weeds or some factors that hindered implementation for the GPS Service Center?
Yeah, so usually it depends from client to client. There can be, for example, system flaws in the ERP system that's not really working well for you. It can be that the procurement process is hampered or the replenishing process is hampered. But I think the most common one is definitely in the area of change management. As I said before, it's really a new way of working. And as you implement a new way of working, it takes time for people to trust the new way of working, and it takes time for them to comply to it. And that is built over time. So what I usually see is when implementing a solution like this, is that it is very important that in the first few runs of the PDCA cycle, you try to connect with all the stakeholders involved and try to understand why it hampers and the reasons behind it. So you can try to earn that trust and to make them follow the process at the end, because they see the value. And it's not because you tell them to, because they see the value themselves.
No, true. It's truly, you touched upon consistency and being able to get into a rhythm, because we usually work on a monthly cycle, and that changing the processes for change management is a big point for you, for them to understand how to, let's say, navigate and pinpoint those weed situations in their garden. Yes. To now step into understanding maybe benchmarks you possibly use when you are beginning implementation, before beginning implementation for new clients.
Yeah, so we always make use of industry best practice. So we have the benchmarks available that can help you set targets on your most important KPIs. And if you work with us, it's related to the Gordian triangle. So it relates back to your stock availability, your working capital, and your operational cost. But if you are in a situation that you are on a lower performance level than desired due to whatever reason in your organization, then I always feel that it makes more sense to set realistic targets that motivates people than to aim for the stars and hope for the best. So yes, we have benchmark and we can work with that, but I'm always big in favor to say, let's make a roadmap towards that desired end state. And maybe we have to take it in smaller steps than desired in order to motivate people, to energize people, and to get them on board of this new way of working.
Great answer. Now, to touch on after implementation, how can clients ensure continued success with the GPS service center after, if they are continuing with the service or they're offloading it onto one of their persons?
Yeah, so regardless if they do it themselves or they outsource it to us, as I said before, I think the real benefit of support planning is the power of consistency. So one way or another, we have to make sure that we do spare parts management in the same structured way as we did last month and the month before that and the month before that. So for me, that's the most important thing. And if they are in the position to avail someone within their organization to act as local champion, that's a blessing. But if there is a need in order to outsource maybe parts or the full planning support to us, then of course we will step in and take care of that, consistently executing of the PDCA cycle.
Great. The consistency, exactly. Very important. Getting into that rhythm because when it has to be handed over, we want to make sure they're used to the system already, used to the processes, and so that they don't need that, let's say, hand-holding all the time. I think it's very important for change management.
100%, and we are just one phone call away. So if that changes over time, you can call us again, and we're happy to step in again if needed.
Perfect. Thank you again, Lawrence. Now, that is all we have for today. We would love to have you watch the other videos, watch the next videos. Please subscribe, and we hope to see you for the next episode. This has been Lawrence Hellegers.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here, Andre, and good luck with the next episodes.
Perfect. Very excited to have you on for the next session, whether we're talking about different aspects that we are trying to improve for our clients. Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed, and have a good day. Cheers.